Hi, and welcome to the MaryLee Herrmann Show. Thank you so much for being here. And first of all, I really want to thank everyone who sent me hugs and well wishes and good energy on Monday the 11th. If you didn't see the last episode, Monday, January 11th, this year was a Monday, January 11th is the anniversary of the day my dad died. And my dad was, Daddy, he was my best friend my whole life. And that day, every year, this was the 5th year, and sometimes I'm a little more emotional before that day, and sometimes it just kind of comes up that day, but I had felt it coming on. I thought, well, this time of year I should do a video, I should do an episode on missing your parents, on grieving over the loss of a parent. I had no idea how emotional I was going to get while recording that video, but I just was very straightforward and honest with everything that was going on in my head and my heart at that moment. So it meant so much to me, the people that extended their love and their relatability, that they could relate, and it just your affection and your compassion just meant so much to me. So thank you. I actually ended up having a pretty good day. It was sunny here in Colorado, my neck of the woods, and I packed up my books, several books and notebooks, and headed for the hills, the mountains. Went to Rocky Mountain National Park. However, I didn't realize, I knew that I'd have to buy a day pass, and I didn't realize how much they cost. And it just seemed that because I didn't have boots with me, so it wasn't like I was going to really be able to trek around. And I decided instead to find a warm coffee shop. Now, I haven't been going inside many places, but I was up in Estes Park, a real pretty town, and I found a little coffee shop. There was like no one in there, and I had a seat by the window. So I sat there and enjoyed something called a Bombay chimney. Don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's got Nutella and vanilla latte, and it was yummy. A treat. And I sat there by the window reading and writing in my journal and looked out at the sunshine in the mountains, and it was glorious. And the ducks, there's a little pond there's ducks and geese, so that was pretty sweet. And so the whole day ended up being pretty good. So and your thoughts and your hugs, so greatly appreciated. Which is why it's really interesting that, to me, it's very interesting that I really, really hesitated over whether to share that video. I was so reluctant. I was scared, to be honest with you. I was flat out scared. I'm not positive of what, but to the point that I showed my sweetheart. I had him watch it, and I'm like, okay, what do you think? And to be honest, I really thought at first he would just say, well, of course you're going to publish it. Of course you're going to share it. Because that's a little bit more how he is. He's a little more fearless in that arena than I am. I'm not afraid of, public speaking doesn't scare me. I think it's more of that of being judged and critiqued in that regard, because I was speaking about something so personal to me and so intimate, and the emotional component of it, I feel like I've been judged on that so much in my life because I am a sensitive person. And being sensitive, though, isn't necessarily a weakness, and I need to remind myself that. So I was a little reluctant to share that video the other day. My sweetheart and I talked for a couple hours about it, went back and forth, and I thought, wow, if he's even thinking about it and not just saying, well, of course, then maybe. By the end of that conversation, I decided to go ahead and have the guts to publish it. And I thought, okay, end of story, great. On Saturday the 9th, this video will be published. I set it up and everything. Well, like for 2 nights, during the night I woke up and I thought, oh my gosh, it kept me awake. I really thought, oh man, should I or not? And it was nuts how much thought and energy, how much fear went into whether I should publish that video or not. And the more I thought about it, I thought, okay, I was able to come to terms with, I worked through it, because I thought, you know what? Sharing that video isn't the video itself isn't necessarily a sign of weakness, and sharing it even is, it made me stronger. When you think about it, if I hadn't shared that video, would I have made it through that day? Sure. But by sharing that video, I opened up to you. I opened up to people who don't necessarily know everything about me, aren't going to know that January 11th can be a tough day sometimes. And it afforded me that energy and that positivity from other people. So I thought, I'm so glad that I published and shared it. It meant so much to me. Your response and the people that did contact me and send me emails and texts, and it really meant so much. But just even then, the fact that I'm like, okay, I did it. I published that video. Good for me. Well, then I thought, well, I just really want to get to that point where I don't have that fear in my life anymore. I thought, I just cannot wait till I'm past this, till I don't feel so reluctant and so hemming and hawing and biting my fingernails trying to decide whether I should do something. It's putting so much effort into that and so much energy that doesn't serve me well at all. It doesn't do anything for me to be so fearful of things. Well, I'm finding out that there may not really ever be a point in my life that fear isn't some kind of a factor. So maybe it's not something that I completely ever get past. For instance, my latest guilty pleasure is The Masked Singer. If you don't know what the show is, it's a reality show, and celebrities from all walks of life, athletes, professional singers, actors, actresses, YouTube influencers, all kinds of people will are dressed in these costumes that, like, there's only a handful of people who even know who is in that costume. And they go on TV and they perform in front of a panel of 4 also celebrities, and in these just elaborate costumes. And when they're speaking, their voices, they use a voice changing thing on them, and so you don't hear their actual voice except when they're singing. And so the panel tries to guess who these people are, and each week the audience votes and the panel votes who their favorite performers are, and whoever the least voted for is voted off and unmasked, and they have to take off their masks. Well, what's fascinating is that these are people who are so successful that they're worldwide known, just they're celebrities. And I've been so taken by how many of them, they'll ask, Nick Cannon is the host, and he'll say, gotta ask, what made you come on this show and do this and get up in this crazy costume and be willing to do this? And they said, or so many of them will say, to overcome fear. They've always had a fear of singing, or different people. I have a fear of coming on stage, and this mask allowed me to do that. And I thought, wow, even someone who is been, Super Bowl winners, and just people who are, Grammy winning, Emmy winning. It just was fascinating that they would still have any kind of fears. So it kind of, it put that into my head that it's like, okay, instead of looking at it as this thing where, okay, there's going to be a day where there's no more fear. It's like, okay, fear is apparently always going to be there. Now, maybe in different realms and different areas, I'll be able to, I'll make stronger, quicker decisions. But use that fear to kind of put a light on something. Now, granted, I wouldn't mind being paid to go on national TV in some fancy costume, and I even know what my costume would be, but to get paid to go on and put on a costume and get up and sing to overcome my fears. Now, no one would obviously, oh, I think that might be MaryLee Herrmann in that costume. But it just really put into perspective of that fear is something that's always going to be there. So it's not a matter of someday there just won't be any more fear. It's just how I contend with it and how I deal with it. And in this particular instance, I contended with the fear by talking about it a lot and with my sweetheart and going back and forth and letting it keep me up at night. So fear is always going to be there, but how I deal with it is going to grow. That's how it's going to change. Oh, and my costume? Well, I'm a Leo, but they've already had a lion on there. But Leo is a fire sign, and purple is my favorite color. So my costume would be the violet flame. And if you know anything about light and spirituality, you'll know what that means too. But anyway, so talk to me. Do you have any fears? Is there anything that kind of gets in your way that you let fear keep you from doing? Or do you have solutions? How do you work through it so that you're not losing so much sleep? All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. And thanks again for everybody for all your love and support on the 11th. It really it was a big help. It means so much to me. You go and have a great day.